Let's face it, the current train system in the US is, well, a complete train wreck. But fear not, by fixing the tracks, we can get back on track and avoid any further derailments. Well, now that I've said that, let's actually talk about trains.
Creating a train system will lead to several economic and environmental advantages despite the potential barriers to its creation in the US.
Hi, I'm Reagan.
I'm Alice.
My name's Neel Acharya.
Hey guys, I'm Patryk.
I'm Josh, and we are the Attention Getters. Before we look at the rest of the world and how amazing the existing train systems are, let's take a quick look at what we already have in the US. There are 32 train systems that already exist in the US, and they span across 35 states. But unlike the rest of the world, they are all disconnected. Basically, you're unable to go long distances without jumping through multiple systems. The existing trains we have in the US were meant for short commutes. Let's look at the San Francisco BART train, for example. It travels around the Bay Area, acting as an easy way for people to make their day commutes around the Bay. And there are many systems similar to this around the US, the Chicago Metro, Atlanta MARTA, and the New York Metro Rail. It makes sense when you look at all these different rail systems spread out so that people can make their quick day trips. But what if you wanted to make a cross-country trip? How easy would that be? Let's look at my hometown, for example, Walnut Creek, California. I want to go from Walnut Creek to Purdue University. In order to do this, I will take the San Francisco BART as close as I can to Purdue, which will take me a whopping 40 minutes away from Walnut Creek to Martinez. From there, I will take a 2-minute walk to the Amtrak station, which takes me to Chicago, or again, I will switch to another Amtrak train to take me to Lafayette, Indiana. Not too shabby, right? I only had to switch trains 3 times for a 3-day trip. Besides the 3-day trip, how much did it cost me? So first, it cost me $4 for the BART train from Walnut Creek to Martinez, $500 for the Amtrak train from Martinez to Chicago, and $100 for the Amtrak train for Chicago to Lafayette. This is a total of $604 for 2,200 miles, which comes to be about 27 cents per mile. In Europe, the most expensive place is in the UK, which, more specifically, the line that goes from London's Paddington Station to Oxford, which is about a 60-mile ride costing you £3, which equates to $3.74 in US dollars. This is about 6 cents per mile of travel. My ride from Walnut Creek to Purdue cost me 4.5 times more than the rate in London. In conclusion, not only is our system disconnected and slow, it's also pricey as heck. As we can clearly see, our train system needs some improvement if we want to even compare to other systems.
The US has over 150,000 miles of railway tracks, in contrast to other countries such as Germany and Japan's 20,000 miles. However, all of US's 150,000 miles is not being optimized for passenger transport. Most of it is being used for transport of freight, while countries like Germany and Japan actually utilize their infrastructure for passenger transport. In addition to this, US has very slow trains, the fastest train being Amtrak's Acela Express, which travels at speeds of 150 miles an hour. In contrast to this, China's CRH, Japan's Shinkansen, and France's TGV all travel at speeds more than 200 miles an hour. Many countries with extensive rail systems have made significant investments in their infrastructure. For example, China has built an extensive high-speed network in just a few decades, and Japan continues to invest in its almost half-a-century-old Shinkansen network. In contrast, US system is often seen as outdated, underfunded, and in need of investment. Overall, the US system lacks in transport, speed, and efficiency. However, the US freight is one of the most effective freight systems in the world.
So we've looked at how other train systems in other countries compare to the United States, but it's important to look at how the United States is actually laid out in order to make a true comparison. For example, China's 2 largest cities, Shanghai and Beijing, are 819 miles apart, compared to LA and New York, which are 2,446 miles apart. Additionally, population density in the United States looks a lot different than most nations with train systems, where the 300 million people in the United States have a lot more land to spread out on. Additionally to all of this, the United States has rooted itself into the automotive industry. It was the second largest market for car sales in 2020 and had $143 billion of investment into it in 2019. And the roads that these cars are driven on are falling apart. Despite the $560 billion investment by the US government this year for the road system, a recent report from ASCE rated the road system a D+ at best and calculated that $4.6 trillion are needed to fix it. So now the question becomes, becomes, do we put money into the road system or do we try a newer alternative? Although there are economic and environmental impacts that we will be talking about, we believe that these barriers can be overcome because the rail system really is the only system for the United States.
Because a train carries more people per mile traveled, it is much more efficient. According to the article, commuting by train helps limit your carbon footprint. A single train line can carry almost 20 times more people than a freeway lane, and in addition, it relies on less number of vehicles since it's one train line while there would be multiple cars emitting the same amount of pollution. It's also more efficient when traveling or commuting alone since one person on one car is too much of a waste compared to other transportation systems. Also, the widespread use of trains will help save on wear and tear of the roads and highways, since about $110 billion was set for improvements of roads and bridges in the 2021 infrastructure bill. And lastly, public transportation is known to be more environment friendly as it only produces 1/3 of the carbon dioxide emissions compared to the passenger vehicles, as well as less air pollution. So with adequate funding, regulation, and widespread of routes, many people will be able to utilize the train system and all take part in helping the environment suffer less from all the cars driven.
I'll be talking about the economic benefits of improving our railway system. So according to the Environmental and Energy Study Institute, there's $45.2 billion of repair needs to return our railway infrastructure back to good condition. And having this much to repair will create thousands of jobs and help boost the economy. It can also help create jobs by increasing the efficiency of freight deliveries, allowing businesses to have increased production, which can lead to even more jobs and lower prices of goods. Improving the railway network will also help decrease the U.S. dependence on foreign oil. And since the U.S.'s primary form of transportation is cars, it relies heavily on foreign oil. And using trains as the primary source of transportation can help reduce the dependence on it because they are almost 3 times more efficient per passenger than transportations like buses, cars, and planes. Since trains also have the ability to use electricity and hydrogen for fuel, as seen in countries like Japan, this can also decrease the amount of oil the U.S. needs to supply as well.
Having compared the other train systems in other countries and deciding why the United States has a couple barriers to having our own system, we've also looked at the economic and environmental impacts and benefits of having a rail system. As you can see, train system is the only system for the United States. Now I'm going to hand it back off to me in the classroom to finish this up.